Welcome to my open studio. We're just gonna paint and have some fun today. So drop a hi, tell me where you're watching from, and I'm working on 3 canvases at the same time, and it's raining outside. So I thought I'd invite you into my studio. I've got some candlelight going, and I've got a cup of tea. So cheers. I'm just preparing a canvas. It's a third canvas of 3. So I'm painting cherry blossoms. Maybe you've checked out my channel before and you saw me do some progress videos. So I thought I would invite you guys in. I just made a boo-boo on my paint here, so I just want to wipe it off. Oh, isn't the sound of thunder amazing? It's gonna come down now. Awesome. I just like to prepare my canvases. I don't like to start on the white unless I really want vibrant color. But for these white cherry blossoms, I've got a limited color palette that I'm working with, and these are stretched canvases that I got as a gift from a friend, a Patreon, for my birthday. And I have recently applied to beautiful sounds of nature in the background, and my doggies gets upset with the weather because it's making a noise. Let me turn this way around. Yes, is it making a noise, my loves? I might have to close the window. Oh! Lots of noise. This is what it sounds like sometimes in my studio. We're right next to a train packing yard, so usually when I do videos I close the windows and everything, but I don't think they are going to work in this weather, so I think the machine that picks up all the containers just moved away. So like I was trying to say, I just got accepted into a gallery. It's not all official yet, so I'm not saying too much about it. I'm still sort of... Wow, even the roof moved. Okay, my loves. Thank you. Thunder and lightning. Very October. Very Halloween. Okay, so now that I've done that little bit, let me show you guys sort of how this will all come together. So this is, like I said, the third one of 3. So this one will be actually turned on its side like that. I'm just going to put it down there. This one I've prepared yesterday, so this will go in the middle of the 2. And then this one is where it all started with the white cherry blossoms. and that will go right on the end. So even though they are each a different size, I think that makes it exciting because they're all deep canvases. So I think it's going to be exciting. Let me put them down. Beautiful rain. Okay, while I turned it, I can finish this bottom side of it as well. So I'm using Lucas Scroll Acrylic Studio. This is titanium white. And this was gifted to me by my beautiful friend on Patreon. It is new to me. It's called Zelcrawl. It is also South African. Proudly made in South Africa, and I'm quite impressed with this acrylic. So this is what I'm using as my background, and this is their Naples yellow. And I'm just using my flat brush here and creating a nice background to work on. So what I was trying to say before I was so rudely interrupted by the weather is that I think I got a spot in a gallery. They invited me into their exhibition group, so I'm still waiting for details and final announcements, but it looks, okay, my love, like we will have an exhibition early in May next year. So I'm working to prepare for that exhibition. So I've not been told much, and I will reveal more when I know more. So that's exciting. And that will be my first official gallery exhibition. Oh my love, is the weather annoying you? Is it making lots of noise? Oh my goodness. Hello my boy. Do you want to say hello to the people? Huh? Then you must come say hello. Did you run away now? You ran away, sorry. I'll introduce him again. So this is normal life in my studio. I've got 3 Dachshunds, and if you have a Dachshund, you will know they bark very loudly. So sorry for your eardrums if it's a bit loud. Luckily for me, I'm sort of used to it. I've had Dachshunds all my life. Oh, my little girl is here. Let me introduce you. Oh, this is Libby. She's my little guardian angel. She's a little bit nervous and she doesn't like the weather. I don't think any of them like the weather, especially next to the packing yard, because lightning, it's really loud out here with the open space, so it really gets amplified. This is my youngest. This is Oliver, our boy. He's a little silver double. Oh my god, he's getting noise. Oh, he's done with saying hello. Okay, run off. Go see. Where's my eldest daughter? Hello. Hello. Come see. Here she's coming. Hello, hello. Come see. Say hello to everybody. This is my eldest. Hello. Sweetheart. But like I say, I hate the weather. Usually I close the door when I record. Careful of the camera, because they are quite busy. So if you have Dachshunds, you will know what I mean. Very stubborn and very busy. But it's an open studio, and my goal for today, besides listening to the beautiful thunder, I'm so grateful it started raining because it was very dry and very hot, is to just be on my live for a bit longer than 30 minutes because I have a few goals to achieve as a content creator here on TikTok. And I've got a beautiful creative family that supports me, that is learning from me as a creatively fit coach, and that just enjoys spending time with me in my studio. So if you're one of them, remember to subscribe, and I'm going to be doing a lot more of these open studios in the future. So, like I said, my goal is to be on air for longer than an hour so that I can sort of overcome that first hurdle. I think my previous live was short with 4 minutes. Just 4 minutes. 4 minutes would have made a massive difference. So anyway, it's coming down really hard. Let me just close my windows. What do you call 3 canvases? A triptych. I think it's called a triptych. I've done a diptych last, and I wanted to try 3 pieces that could work together, but that could also function completely on their own. And I like the different sizes of the canvases. I think it breaks it up a bit. Otherwise, it can look so predictable. I think the surface that we paint on is as important as the actual picture. And if you can create an interesting ensemble against the wall with interesting shapes or combination of shapes, I think that's far more interesting than if each of the canvases are exactly the same size. Maybe something new for me to try. And yeah, I like exploring with that. So my mission with this particular canvas today, if I can find my beautiful charcoal, found it, is to begin to just loosely sketch in where I want to put my cherry blossoms. So I'm going to bring out my first canvas and just put them next to each other here. And here you can see the storyline sort of continue with the way that I designed the background. And it's really just abstractly representing a background filled with light. It could be clouds, it could be the sun, it could be dappled light from the trees, however your mind interprets it. But you will notice that this middle canvas, there's a lot more sunlight in this particular spot. And then in the third one that I've just prepared, that story is going to continue. So I'm just thinking of my composition here, and I feel like now we need to start to move the story towards the third canvas. I've got an interesting brain, people. I've got an interesting combination of challenges. Number one, I'm dyslexic, so especially with numbers, I turn things around in my mind, and sometimes it's a challenge to keep things where they belong. And sometimes also with dyslexia, it gives you this brain fog. Number one, English is not my first language. Ek is eintlik Afrikaans. Maar ek is getroud met 'n Engelsman. So we speak English in our home, and so sometimes for me to find the right tense, doing the right grammar, finding the right words is some days more challenging than others. So if you hear me use an incorrect word or term, or my grammar is incorrect, this is why. It's not because I'm dumb, it's simply just a brain fog, and sometimes it's the way that it comes out of my mouth, especially when I'm busy creating and I have to share with everyone. It's really hard sometimes to think, to talk, to draw, and to keep everything all together in one place. And then I'm also in the autistic spectrum. that sometimes makes it very hard for me to communicate. It's like there's a frustration and there is a little bit of a barrier almost, it feels to me. But that's particularly more with telephones and telephonic communication and serious communication over a telephone. Um, I'm so sort of focused on the device and what the other person is saying that I just don't respond. Or I begin to respond while they're still talking. Or I can't make sense of what they're trying to find out from me. So I only recently done a psychological assessment and I never knew that I'm in the autistic spectrum. Not to the point where I'm full autistic, it's not that bad, it's just entering the spectrum. And I think we're all somewhere on that spectrum, to be quite honest with you. So this is some of my challenges as an artist, as a creatively fit coach, as a hairstylist, is sometimes to communicate, especially in an environment that's really busy and loud, and sometimes it's really overwhelming. So I wanted to share with you guys, I did my drawing this morning from my new deck, my new favorite deck. This is a deck by my friend Sondra, and it's a beautiful art from my heart, meditation, and symbol inspiration deck. And she created all of the art that is on these cards, and she actually did this particular class on the cover of her deck with me. It's one of my classes on my Patreon, so check it out if you're interested. But this is the most beautiful deck of cards, and what I love about it, it's really open-ended. In the sense that she doesn't tell you what to think or believe or how to interpret the card. The only thing she does is there is some words of wisdom. Now this is the card I drew for today. I try to draw one every day, and this is a whale, and it talks about longevity, love, wisdom, family, protection, guidance, music, and psychic abilities. Isn't that beautiful? And for me, then I sort of look at that for the day and say, okay, how can I apply this to my day or to my art or to current situations that I'm dealing with? And yeah, I put on some music and I lit some candles and just enjoying the moment in my studio, sharing with you guys. Okay. So I'm going to create a new wet palette for myself here. This is my wet palette, people. It's literally just a Tupperware dish, and I use a kitchen towel underneath that I wet, and I also put my wax paper on top. But I used this one for the previous canvas and it's getting a little bit ratty, so I'm going to make a new one. It really makes my life easy because I tend to paint in sections. Just because of the way my brain functions. So I'm just misting with my mister, my humidifier, getting it nice and wet. And that just prevents the paint from drying out on me. But the wax paper at the same time helps me to not make everything wet with water. Wax paper, I'm just folding it to sort of fit in that nicely. And then I just place it inside like so, and I really press it down into the tissue paper. And then it stays wet. And when I put my paint there, especially acrylic paint, for those of you that paint with acrylic paint, you will know it can dry rather quickly on you. And a wet palette just helps me to save some paint and not lose it every half an hour. When I come back, it's rock hard. I'm just gonna mist it again for a bit of moisture. Right. Now I can dispense my colors. Naples yellow, my Lucas Cruel, and this is their apricot orange, titanium white, Lucas Kroll Arctic blue. This is Winsor and Newton sap green. So I'm going to use iris turquoise. You can see I buy them in big tubes because turquoise is my signature color. This is a signature palette that I like to work in. I just love the spectrum and contrast between the blues and the oranges. That's sort of my range that I like to work in. Not that I limit myself in any way, but that is definitely a go-to. And what else do I need? Okay, I've got here, this is something else. Because I'm a mixed media artist, I do like different fluidities. So this is Dollar and Rawny System 3 fluid acrylics. I quite like them. And this is their phthalo turquoise. So it's a bit darker. Very concentrated. I love that. And a little bit more fluidic. And I do love the tip. Look at this amazing tip that's on here. So you'll see me sometimes draw with it as well. I'm going to grab my big filbert. This is my filbert. So it's just a rounded off edge brush. And not that the numbers mean anything unless you've got the same range. This is a number 10. So I'm going to go in dry with my brush. I didn't activate it with water. And what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to begin to play with the light in the background. So I'm going to just get into it with this beautiful apricot color. And what I like to do for this particular piece is I like to work with vertical marks. Let's bring in a little bit of white so you can see some of it. And this initial sort of background is just like a first layer. Just want a little bit of light up here that connects with the sky on the second canvas. And because it's a deep stretched canvas, I have to constantly remind myself to continue my patterns on the edge. Oh, the wind is really plucky today. Storms in Africa. So I'm not really stressed about making perfect marks. If you've been around for a minute, you will know I am an advocate for excellence, but I do fight against perfectionism. I think perfectionism is something born out of the ego. It's all about getting some praise and recognition, and also it's a limiting belief that I believe a lot of people engage with in not making art, not getting into a hobby or a creative practice. It's easier just to sit on the couch and flip through TikTok than to go out and make your own. And a lot of that has to do with perfectionism. And I think perfectionism is a cop-out because you tell yourself in your mind, I know I can't do it perfectly, therefore I will not even try. And I think that is sad because we all come into this world as artists. We are all born artists. Your life, in fact, is a canvas of your soul, and you use your faculties, your imagination, your language, your emotions your feelings, all of who you are, to paint and create and manifest the life you're living. So, sorry if you've been telling yourself all your life that you're not creative, because you are. You use creativity every day of your life to solve problems. Even if you consider yourself proudly a left brain, linear thinking, logic processing, intelligent human being, and you disassociate yourself from anything creative and expressive and artistic, and you sort of created a barrier and said, okay, it's for the freaks, it's for the weirdos out there, which I'm one of. Um, I'm here to tell you as a coach that creativity is inherently part of your survival skills. You use creativity to solve math problems. You use creativity in a laboratory to create experiments, to figure out a problem. So creativity is not just limited to the artist and creating art. We use creativity in our world every single day to create our future and to solve problems. And I believe that we should encourage everyone around us to exercise our right brain and to connect again with our intuition, because I think the left brain functions better under the direction of our higher self that uses our right brain to communicate with us. And the left brain is a little bit more personality based. So I would encourage everyone to just rethink this a little bit, because I think we can solve a lot more problems on our world, in our society, if we function as whole brain human beings, and use all of our faculties in order to tackle problems in our world. And some of it requires creativity. So get into an art journal and just create art for you. You don't have to share it with the world. And art is not always about making money from it. How can I put it? I think our world is far more product orientated and not process orientated. Albeit I think it's starting to change, because even if you just make a TikTok video, it's a process. The editing process alone, which I love, is a process. Filming it is a process. So it's the same with art. It's about the process. And guess what? Creating art always has an ugly phase. There's that phase when you just start to get into things and you go, doesn't quite look like I wanted it to. It's normal. I'm going to dive into this beautiful phthalo turquoise, which is a bit deeper, and just begin to bring in some depth down here. Sorry if I move in front of the camera, people. You're sort of peeking over my shoulder. Okay, I'm going to move into the turquoise here. Variety is the spice of life. So sometimes I just make a dot, and sometimes I will make a bit of a longer mark. Okay, I'm going to move into the lighter blue. I haven't even rinsed my brush. I'm just allowing the colors to mix and give me a bit of an interesting background. So a lot of people say, okay, so why do you go through all of this effort? Because in the end you paint over it. But this is the beauty of acrylic paint. It builds up in layers. And sometimes some of this peeks through, sometimes you lose all of it. But in the end, it all contributes to the beauty of the piece. And you can see now how the background is just warming everything up. I love that. That's nice. Okay, let's add some phthalo turquoise again. I want this side to be darker. I'm going to switch over like this so I don't stand in front of you guys. Nice. I'm going to switch over to my sap green. I haven't rinsed my brush yet. Look how much paint is still on my brush. And I just love, I think it creates a bit of color harmony. Because I'm working with a limited palette anyway, most of these colors will work together. Even if they neutralize each other a little bit, it creates interesting neutrals. I'm going to have to turn this canvas around to paint at the bottom. That's still wet, so I can't do that now. But we can go a little bit darker. One of the ways I like to darken my greens is by adding a bit of violet to it. So I've got my sap green and a bit of violet here. So it creates a beautiful deep color. It's almost grey. So it's going to give me a nice deep background to play on. I'm going to have to turn this around to just bring some of this color onto the bottom here. Here we go. And that is done. Well, not done, but brought into the picture. Nice. Okay, let me add a bit more phthalo. I love this phthalo green. So pretty. Oh, I say phthalo green, but I mean phthalo turquoise, okay? Right, let's mix that in there as well. So I quite like to turn my canvas upside down sometimes because it's one way to trick the left brain. Because when I feel like I'm getting too analytical, that's the left brain trying to get back into charge. Then I flip my canvas and I go, nope, buddy, not today. You are not required yet. I will call you when I need you. And I need my left brain for the business side of being an artist. So you see again, we need the whole brain, not just part of it. That's nice. Let's brighten that up a bit with some turquoise, see what happens. That's a nice battleship grey almost that I mixed there. So now I'm going to slow down a bit because the paint is really wet, so I want to make some beautiful marks. So I'm using repetition as a design principle here. Repetition and rhythm. And that's what gives this design such a beautiful feeling. I'm not worried about my composition yet entirely. I mean, I am aware of it. There is some planning happening here. But right now, I'm just trying to bring a feeling and cover up my canvas it gives a more interesting feeling of texture when I do that. And it's quite nice then when you come closer to a painting, you sort of drawn to it from afar, and then the closer you get to it, as you get into the painting, you begin to realize, oh, there's lots of colorful striations and mixtures of paint that just happened on the canvas. And I like a good happy accident on a canvas. It's one way to really create visual interest, and any good artist will tell you that you rely a lot on your tools and your paint to create special effects, I'm going to call them, um, that cannot be replicated, because it happens in the moment when the paint and the brush comes together. And even if you try to replicate it, it won't look exactly the same. And that's a unique aspect of art that I really love, is that beautiful, special, magical moments that happen. Sometimes it's annoying and frustrating, and other days it's, like I say, a happy accident. You go, woohoo, that's beautiful. I'm gonna keep that. Okay, let's get some olive green. Now this is a beautiful pale olive green from System 3, one of my favorite colors. Are you also someone that tries to experiment with different mediums, different brands? I'm not even going to rinse my brush. Um, I feel like it curbs boredom in me. I get bored by using the same product and the same brush over and over. Sometimes I like to just spark my own inspiration and creativity by trying a brand that I've never tried before, and just to see how their product will work. And this is what I discovered about System 3. It's new to me. I know Dollar and Rawny. I've got some of their watercolor and some of their other, I think I have some of their oil pastels, but I've never used their acrylics. And it's very buttery. And that was something new to get used to. So it almost has an oil-like feeling. I think that's what they tried to imitate with their acrylics, is that it will have a feeling of oil paint. Oh, I love this olive green next to a turquoise. Oh my God, it's beautiful. It excites me. I find it very pleasing. And I love when the paint does that. Let me bring this canvas, can I? Just a little bit closer for you guys so you can sort of see what I mean. If you, that little bit of striation where the wet paint blends into each other, I find that quite exciting. Nice. You see how vibrant this looks against the greys or the neutral colors. Nice. I need something longer. There we go. Let's cover up all these blobs. So I've been working with the same brush for a while. So usually when I get to a stage like this, I have to let it dry, or I can make it dry, but I mean this paint is quite thick and I don't want you to spend an hour listening to me blow drying my painting. Blow drying. You can hear I'm a stylist. Some of my other career terminology tends to creep in. Like I talk about the balayage in my paint, but it's actually a hairdressing technique. Okie dokie. Nice. It's like a mosaic. I quite like that. That's pretty. Okay. Just move that a bit more so I can stabilize that. Then you sort of get the rhythm of where I'm going with this. So obviously that will hang in the middle, a little bit higher like that. So there is a lot of greens here that I'm going to have to sort of tone down to work with the greys and the blues there. Or I can bring some of that greens in here, which I think is exactly what I must do. So before I start the background, this sort of foliage of the cherry blossom tree speaks about some leaves and dappled light, but in the green spectrum. So it's abstractly, loosely represented. I like it when your mind, when you view a painting, sort of completes the picture. It's sort of an artistic trick that we play. We don't talk about all the detail that is there. I mean, I'm talking loosely here. I'm not talking about every single artist. I'm talking about me. So I don't want to represent every single detail. I like it if I can leave something over to the imagination of the viewer. I also think that these greens need a little bit more variety. So I'm going to add a little bit of my phthalo turquoise. Okay, let's use that a bit. And a bit of the sap green. And all of this is sort of mixing together. I'm mixing here a bit of the phthalo turquoise, a bit of the sap green, and it's on base of this sort of battleship grey. Oopsie. So here you'll see me be a little bit more careful because I've already got a beautiful structure going, and I just like to add to it a little bit. Let's introduce a little bit of a green here. And this is upside down, people, just so that you know. Alright, let's get into that beautiful olive green. That's nice. I want to add a bit there, but it's very dark. Oh, there we go. Bit of light. Oh, brighten this up a bit. I also don't want the foliage to be too bright or too light because I still have to paint the cherry blossom trees over it, and it's white flowers with a blue cast. Let me brighten this up just a little bit. And a beautiful. Ooh, nice. I like that. I just added a bit of titanium white to my olive green. Ooh, that's nice. Pretty. And then I'm also mindful, because I'm working on more than one canvas, to repeat some of that color somewhere. That's right in front of you. Something lighter. There. Cool. Okay, now that I've got the two next to each other, I think I can start to lighten some of my blues. I think what I'm going to do now is I'm going to switch to a bigger brush, and I'm going to use my oval mop brush, and I think I must just activate it with a bit of clean water, but not too much, because a mop brush can hold a lot of water. And then I'm going to mix here for you guys my Arctic blue and my titanium white, and I'm creating a beautiful, very, very pale blue. And now I'm going to go for bigger brush marks. Come on, brush. There you go. I just love this shape. It sort of plays on an oval, but it's not an oval. An oblong rounded shape. Nice. That already breaks things up a bit. Variety is the spice of life, and it is also a design principle. I love variety. And with variety in this case, I literally switch up my brush sizes. So that way the brush marks change from thick and thin, small and wide, stripy and dotty. I like that. Very nice. This needs to dry a bit, I feel. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to switch over to painting my cherry blossom stalks in so long. And for that, I'm going to start with my Lucas Kroll burnt umber. So it's nice and dark, and it dries nice and dark, because I don't like to use black a lot. I will add black to a color just to tone it, to make it a bit darker, to give a bit of a shadow to it, or to flatten it a little bit. But very rarely do I use pure black in my art. In my art journal, I sometimes love the contrast. I love to start painting on a black background. So I do use black, but not, I think with acrylic paint, black can look really flat and very chalky. There's not a lot of depth to it. So I like to use colors together to create a deep color without using black. So I'm going to start with a good dollop of my burnt umber, and right next to it on my wet palette I do have a bit of that phthalo turquoise, which is also dark. I'm going to switch to a different brush. I'm going to try my smaller filbert. This one is a professional one from Dollar and Ronnie, if I remember correctly. Oh no, it's also one of those Chinese brushes. But anyway, it's a little bit done for. You can see it's seen better days. It's no longer round. It's got a bit of a tip there, but it's still one of my favorites. So let's see if it cooperates, because it does fray a little bit on the ends. But anyway, here we go. So I'm going to mix my phthalo blue and my burnt umber. Did I say phthalo blue? I mean phthalo turquoise, people. Forgive me. So that's going to just tone it down a little bit more. If I add phthalo blue to this, it would actually make it a bit darker, quite frankly. But here we go. So I'm going to start here with this little cherry blossom branches coming off the bottom of my canvas. Let's just bring them in. And I'm just going to go for it. Again, if this isn't perfect, we're not aiming for perfection, people. We're aiming for excellence. And sometimes, like I say, a magical moment happens and you will use it, or you can always paint over it. So and there's some charcoal there as well, so it will also smear a little bit. And with my cherry blossoms, I sort of like to make fast movements, if my paint will allow me. Oh, nice and thick there, Gideon. I like to cover things up as well, and it gives a beautiful sort of glow. Let's cross them over. Oh, we're gonna have a little branch coming over here. So I'm just gonna remind myself when I turn it over. Here's a conglomeration of things that might need to be sorted out. I'm gonna skip that one. Let's cross it over from there. I'm gonna ignore that. I feel we need something to the left here. You know, sometimes there's lots of branches overlapping each other, but we'll see if that's maybe not too much of a confusion junction, but we can always put flowers on top of it. Flowers and leaves sometimes covers up a multitude of sins. Yeah, it's time for a new brush, Gideon. But it's just an underlying structure. Nothing to worry about. Let's quickly clean off. No, we're not going to clean off anything. We're leaving it as it is. That's nice. Okay. Now, I like to switch to my yellow ochre. And this is my yellow ochre also from Lucas Krill. I'm definitely going to switch to something finer. Also, very cheap brushes because I'm quite rough on my brushes. This is Bohemia Artist brushes. I think I bought it on Timo. And I quite like them. I play with my gouache a lot as well in these brushes. So I'm going to use my yellow ochre and let's get some vibe going on our little branches. Just thinking of where the light is coming from my left. So let's get in a little bit of light reflections. Twirling my brush. Adding a drop of water to improve the fluidity of my paint. And I'm just resting with my pinky on my canvas just to stabilize my brush a little bit. And a cherry blossom branch has a lot of texture anyway. It's not very smooth. And here where there's lots of light, I like to sort of go to the outside of these branches and really sort of accentuate the light that is hitting them. So I'm using my yellow ochre almost as a highlight. Remembering the little branch at the bottom of my canvas. I would really like to buy some professional brushes. But have you guys seen what professional brushes cost? Oh my goodness, it's expensive, but so worth it because it changes your work. It really gives you far better results than cheap brushes. I've taught myself how to paint. I didn't go to art school. Those doors never opened for me. So it was actually quite a journey because I really wanted to become a professional artist, but like I said, those doors didn't open. We did try. And then I became a hairstylist. And I'm so grateful for that because my siblings actually helped me. I'm the last born and I'm the youngest. And my sisters helped to put me through college so I could get a qualification. And I'm very grateful for that because hairdressing has been really good to me. But it was a love-hate relationship because it's not what I wanted to do. I didn't want to do hair, I wanted to paint. So I always felt sorry for myself, in the sense like, oh, poor me, I'm not doing what I was destined to do. But you know what? I found such meaning in it, and creating art is not only something that I keep myself busy with. It's really a personal value for me. Um, it adds a lot of value to my life. It's a way that I process everything in my life. It's a way that I cope with my dyslexia and with my autism, and it's a way that I process sort of when I have those days when I feel overwhelmed and like everything is just a bit too much for me. I come to my studio and I make sense of my life and of my world through my art. So I'm so grateful that at one stage in my life I said, this is it. I can't continue to bemoan my sort of lot. You know, you sort of change your own stars, I believe. And yeah, that day came and I picked up a paintbrush and I haven't put it down yet. So, and through persistence and really giving myself the space to create the art I want to create, I've taught myself how to paint and what works for me and done a few art classes, but most of the time, if I go to an art class, people say, oh, we can't teach you much, just paint with us. And then I get frustrated and then I leave because if you're not going to teach me anything, what am I doing there? I can paint in my own studio. So, but there are a few artists, international artists that I follow, and their art inspires me. And what I do is I will take an exercise page and I will try and copy them. And through the copying process, I educate myself. And then I get to a stage where I realize, okay, I sort of understand through my own experience how they sort of got there. And with each brush mark that you make, you learn something and you gain brush miles. Now I've been painting for 14 years, and I am so grateful because I know there's still a lot to learn, and I do take a lot of notes and observing when other artists work, how they do it and how they approach a subject and how they sort of make things easier for themselves, their process. And then I go and see if I can apply that process to my process and see if there's anything useful in there for me in the way that I like to create art. And if it works, then it sort of just slides into my sort of repertoire and it sort of becomes my own in its own way. And before I realize it, I think, okay, so where did I learn this technique originally? I can't even remember anymore. Then I know I've sort of begun to own it and it becomes part of what I create and what I find beautiful and what I find my collectors and Patreons love about my art. And that has been my encouragement ever since because, I've only recently moved into the studio. We moved home about 2 years ago, and for the first time, I have a room to myself just for my art. I can close the door. I don't have to put anything away. I don't have to worry that my stuff is in, other people in the house's way. Before this, I used to paint under the staircase in my flat with my husband, and yeah, sort of my art was always open and in the way, or I had to put things away. So it means like when I've got 5 minutes to add something to it, I had to take things out of drawers and really get into preparing to paint. So that is very restrictive. So when we moved house, and my husband said I can have the guest bedroom basically as my studio. I was like, yay, finally I've got some space where I can film, where it's not too noisy and I can be in the process. So I'm literally surrounded by art. So I've got my unicorn next to me. Here is more art on that table waiting to be sold. Here's my window and our little backyard. Now this wall that you see here is the wall between us and the packing station, and you will see art supplies all over the show. Let me show you the other side as well. So there is one of my Buddhas. This is the Buddha class that my friend did with me that I talked about earlier. Remember this? That's the class, and that was her interpretation of the art. So you'll find that on my Patreon channel. Check it out. The link is in my bio. And here's more art and my recording space where I hang my plants. And then again, more brushes and things. So here you've gone and seen everything that's in my studio. Let me just position it like this. We'll be painting so you guys can see what I'm doing. Now that we look back at this, can't you see how beautiful this contrast is already looking? It's like the light is caught on these branches. I quite like that. Right. Now I'm going to mix an intermediate color. I'm going to use this, what was this called? Buff titanium. That's what it's called. Buff titanium. So it's a titanium white, but it's buff. And I'm going to mix a little bit, let me show you guys, a little bit of this burnt umber mixture into that buff titanium. You can't see. So it creates a nice sort of neutral, almost khaki tone. But because these two are related, let's add a little bit of the yellow ochre just for some color harmony. I need to make it a bit darker. Just rolling my brush. Let's add a bit of water to that to just improve the fluidity. There we go. The nice thing about a cloudy, rainy day like this is that my paint doesn't dry out so quickly. But again, this wet palette that I'm working on is doing a lot of work for me. Now, if it's hot or my aircon is on, then I just mist it with my mister a bit just to keep it moist. Okay, so now this sort of in-between color, I like to now work in the middle. I try to sort of twist my brush a little bit. Nice. It's starting to happen for me, slowly but surely. The layers are coming together. You'll probably find my fingerprints all over an artist's work because I tend to sort of support myself with my pinky on my canvas. So I think my pinky fingerprint is everywhere. I know there's a tool, don't ask me what the thing is called now, but it's a stick with a bit of a support rest on the other side. If you know what it's called, please tell me in a comment that I can lean on as well. Especially, I think oil painters use that quite a bit because oil paint takes forever to dry. I don't have the patience for oil, but I'm also quite allergic to chemicals, so oil is just not my avenue. And a lot of people ask me when I tell them I'm an artist, like some of my clients, oh, you're an artist, so do you paint with oil? And then I say, no, I work with acrylic and watercolor. And then oh, then you're not a serious painter. It's like, why is oil considered to be the professional brand? I mean, really? I know oil is beautiful, don't get me wrong, it's beautiful, but it's just another medium, people. I mean, really, there are plenty of super professional artists that only work with acrylic paint. I think it's just a misunderstood medium, and yes, I know the Renaissance masters painted with oil, and that makes you a great artist. Hogwash, balderdash. I don't believe in that. That's all they had to work with. I believe a lot of Renaissance artists would have loved some of the modern mediums that we get to work with today. And that goes for color spectrum as well. just because all paintings of the Renaissance is very muted and dark and dull, it looks like that. Number one, because the colors faded. Number two, because the spectrum of pigment that was available to them was limited. So that's why it looks like that. I promise you, can you imagine Monet with some bright colors like this? I promise you, he would have really gone into it. And Monet is one of my personal inspirational masters of art. That I love his art. I love the impressionistic sort of fuzzy, almost mystical way that he worked. I really respect that, and it inspires me quite a lot. And a lot of those kind of artists, I think if they had, some of the pigments that we have today would have gone wild. So just because it's loud and colorful and contemporary or modern doesn't make it any less valuable or present than some of the ancient work. And don't get me wrong, I have a lot of respect for the masters, and I learn a lot from them as well. So please don't unfollow me because I say what I said. But yeah, acrylic paint is a serious medium, and it is beautiful in its own way, and it has a longevity to it that should not be discarded as, something that only children play with. Trust me, acrylic paint came from the Second World War. It was discovered quite by accident, and the original company that created acrylic paint is, I think, the Golden brand. So they've been around forever, and it opened art to the general public because before acrylic paint, if you could only work in oil or watercolor, then that was very hard. The accessibility of it, watercolor was considered, very important, and not everybody can work with that medium. I also love watercolor. I think watercolor taught me a lot about art because for 2 years I only worked in watercolor, and it's definitely one of my favorite mediums. And yeah, so when acrylic paint became available to the masses, it changes. It changed the whole storyline of art, and I'm really grateful that they sort of discovered acrylic paint quite by accident. But here we are, and the spectrum of color pigments and color choices that's available today is astounding. And I mean, just look at fluid art, how that came into our arena, and expressive art, such a powerful tool. I love expression art because I find it is a very therapeutic way of creating art, especially for people that maybe is not good with line and form. It opens up a whole genre of art for them in just letting the fluidity of the paint and the magic of the colors and how they flow into each other, and whatever means you do that with. There's some amazing fluidic art out there, and if I had the space to make a big mess like that, I really would have gotten into fluidic art myself. But yeah, I have to sort of make peace with what I have and what space I have available. I know you can work small, but nah, why work small if you can go big? Cool. That is starting to look like an interesting branch. I'm going to get back into my burnt umber here. Let's just work some of these darker areas back in. A little bit of the shadow. Nice. When I'm quiet like this is when I know I'm in my right brain. I'm in my right brain. What does it mean when I say I'm in my right brain? It literally means that I'm a little bit more in the creative side of my mind than on the logical side. So that's why the speech center switches off a little bit and there's silence because you are more in the moment, in the present moment. So there's a lot of mindfulness to creating art, and this is why I also advocate meditating through creating art because it's very difficult to multitask, entertain an audience while you're painting. It's a bit of a skill that you need to develop. I admire artists that's creating content for social media and is able to share a lot while they are painting. But even them, I observe them. There's moments when they go completely quiet, and I know, okay, they're in their creative right brain, and they are in the present moment, and they are one with the brush and the paint and the canvas. And you sort of forget in that moment that you actually have an audience that is watching along, and maybe you're painting. Are you painting at the present moment? If you are, please tell me. I see my battery is about to die, so I might have to say goodbye to you guys. So thanks for watching. I'll open my studio again and share with you guys. But follow me on my channel because you will see progress of what I'm busy painting. So thank you for tuning in. I'll speak to you guys again real soon. Bye bye for now.